Okay, so what we're going to start off doing here today is we're going to set up our first repository. I'm logged into GitHub, and there's a little green button on your repositories that says New Repository. Click that, and you come up with this this sort of screen here. The repository name that I want us to use is Introduction to Python. Now, with repository names, it doesn't really matter too much about what you call them. Don't put any dots, don't put anything after that. For our description, it says optional, but it's usually good to have one. And what I'm going to do here is just put in a quick sentence to say what we're doing in this repository. You need to get into the habit of initializing with a README, and because the language we're going to use is Python, we need to set up a gitignore for Python. So we need the Python gitignore. You don't need a license, and I would recommend for the time being, whilst you're at school, not having a license. A license gives people the opportunity to do stuff with your software, and we're not really at that stage yet. Once we've done those things, double check with what you've got. You'll see here that it will be created as Introduction to Python. It'll take out the spaces for me and put the dashes in. And then we just click the big green button to create the repository, and that will create that for us. The next step in this, once we've made it, and what you can see here is that we've got a repository. There's my username, there's the repository name, there's the gitignore that we wrote, and if you look in the gitignore, it should say that these things will be ignored. Don't worry about that too much for now, just know that you need to do it. And there's a README which actually comes up here, and this we can use for our write-up. The next step in writing the Hello World program is to start Cloud9. Now to start Cloud9, we just set up a new tab and we type c9.io, cloud9.io. You'll see mine come up, and to log into Cloud9, we've got a big green button here that if I've logged into GitHub already, it already knows my credentials. It will log me in using my GitHub credentials. Okay, you can see up the side here, I've already got some projects open, but if I scroll down, you should see eventually the project that I made here earlier, and then we're just going to clone it to edit it. Because we're going to work in Python, we can click on Python. And then we can create that. It should just go straight into that, and then at the top here we'll see that it's creating it by pulling it from GitHub. Introduction to Python, one workspace editor. It's gone dark, I can now start editing. Okay, and now we've loaded up, you can now see we've got a development environment. The readme.md is the text file with exactly what I wrote down as the description when I opened the repository. Down here we've got a terminal that's got an output, and I'm just going to start off by closing that. I'll show you how to open that again later. First thing I want to do is I want to make the file that's going to contain the program. And Python files end in .py. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to save it as hello world hello.py. The file name itself doesn't really matter too much. Don't have spaces and don't start with a capital. The .py is very important for anything that's done in Python. And for our first program, all we're going to do is we're going to print, open a bracket, open a quote, hello world. And you can see a big green button up here that says run. We can run it by clicking that big green button. And if we look at the output, it should have said hello world. It didn't. The little asterisk there by the hello means it's not saved. So we're going to save this using the Control S keys, and that will save it. And once we've saved it, it will run, and we should get a hello world there at the bottom. So there it is, right at the bottom corner. The other way of running this is to open a terminal, and this is the way that we should practice doing it. Opening a terminal, so view, terminals, new terminal. And the command to run this, because it's in Python, we type Python and then hello.py. And you can see there that hello world is printed there. Okay, the next stage is to save it back to GitHub. At the moment, GitHub still has exactly what we had when we started off. Now, there's 4 commands that we need to remember. There's git status. Now, git status will tell us what we need to do. This tells me that I need to use git add file to put it in. Now there is a shortcut to this. We just do git add, and instead of writing the whole file name, we can just write dot, which means everything. So if I type git status again, you'll see that there are changes to be committed. To commit, we git commit -a -m. The -m is very important. And then we need to write a message. So this is just creating hello.py. You can see there it tells us there's one file changed and one insertion, and then we'll try git status again. On branch master, use git push to publish your local commits. Well, git push, exactly it says git push. We're pushing to where it came from, so we're pushing to the origin, and on the origin we'll push into the master branch. Now, those 4 words are 4 words that you'll need to use to remember every time you do this: git push origin master. And now if we try git status again, on branch master, nothing to commit, working directory clean, which means that everything that's in Cloud9 is the same as is in GitHub. So if I refresh my GitHub repository, you should see that it will now have the hello.py with the message next to it saying what I did. So when I made the commit message, that's what goes there, and when I did it, so a minute ago. Now if I click on that created hello.py, you should see that I've created a file with 1 addition.